So now everything you say has been recorded. So bear that in mind. And I'm going to introduce you.
What's my P's and Q's?
Exactly. What's your P's and Q's? I'm Mark Chu, and I'm talking to Jeremiah Benjamin. Is that how you pronounce it?
That's it.
That's
Correct.
it. Jeremiah Benjamin, who is the custodian of the beautiful Jock Muir 47-foot boat Wild Wave. And I first saw Wild Wave when I had my boat up, well, it's still up in Pittwater, but motoring past the south side of Scotland Island, and saw this boat which stood out from the other boats around it quite significantly. And I sort of went up and motored past the transom and made a note of the name, and then it all sort of started to fit together, a bit of a puzzle. And then and the Instagram account, and then I tracked down Jeremiah here, and the Instagram account is wonderful. It's a lovely account, and I contacted Jeremiah, and he was kind enough to have this conversation with us. So I think a lot of the people out there will be very interested in hearing about the boat, and hearing, I think, almost as importantly as the boat is your journey with her to where you are now, and what the future is going to bring. So maybe we'll start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself, because you're an interesting combination, I think, of shipwright and musician. Is that right?
That's right. Yes.
Not a sort of classical combination, but
yeah. I wonder about that, actually, but yeah, it doesn't bode well for the hands. That's for sure. It's either one or the other. In Europe, when I was living over in Switzerland, I was able to teach and perform and play classical guitar, and there's such a density of population there and such an interest in it that you can survive, amazingly enough, as a musician, which is fantastic. So I did that for a number of years, and throughout the years doing a lot of yacht deliveries and being involved in classic boat associations. And
so this was based in Spain?
In Switzerland, actually.
Switzerland, right.
In Switzerland, yeah. And I mean, Switzerland Central, so, pretty much you can travel everywhere. So a lot of yacht deliveries in the Med and North Sea, Baltic, all around. And then, throughout that time, doing a lot of boat restoration. We saved a Skerry cruiser, a 22 meter square from Oslo, brought that down to Switzerland, and
what was the name of her? Can you remember?
Lucky Chance.
Lucky Chance. Wow. No, I just
Lucky
got
Chance.
a friend who's very into that.
Beautiful boat.
Yeah.
I can send you some photos of that. She was half full of water in the marina in Oslo. The owner had put an advertisement up online. We had a look and thought, oh, that looks worthy. Let's go and check that out. It was built and launched in 1932 and had an amazing history, being hidden in a shed, in a hay shed during the Second World War. So the Germans couldn't get at the ballast, apparently. So
that was the only bit worth having.
You don't know the validity of these stories, but you never know.
Yeah.
And then in England, I owned a Falmouth pilot cutter, 38 foot, gaff rigged, and then that had a big restoration process.
And again, can we have the name?
Was a lovely boat.
People might know the name.
And oh gosh, there's been a string of boats in New Zealand. An Alan Buchanan East Anglian that was a little bit extended, a 28 footer that was built in Samoa. On a beach in Samoa by a very well-known New Zealand shipwright, who actually, his name escapes me now.
What was the name of the Falmouth pilot cutter?
Sorry?
What was the name of the
I think
Falmouth?
our connection's gone a bit.
All right.
There you go.
What was the name of the Falmouth pilot cutter?
The name of the Falmouth pilot cutter was Carnan Moor, which means Song of the Sea. And the East Anglian was Tevaki, which is a famous name, Tevaki. That was a lovely boat. That was all Purple Heart and I think Cowrie.
Beautiful.
So Purple Heart, backbone frames, stem and stern post, and that was launched in '92. So it was a relatively young boat. And I must say, I've sailed some of the pilot cutters in England and luggers, a whole range of different, varying vessels. And that East Anglian was, I think, one of the best sailing boats, one of the most balanced boats I've ever had the pleasure to sail.
Beautiful.
I was sorry to sell it, actually. That was the boat I really lamented when I let it go. And funnily enough, since I think Wild Wave has now hit the top. Wild Wave is just something extraordinary, and I'm only just haven't even begun to come to terms with the beast that she is. Actually,
right.
Yeah,
fantastic. So how did you? So you come back to Australia and you're looking for a boat, or did she find you?
No, I was not looking at all. Absolutely was not looking. Working as a subcontractor, shipwright, boat restorations or repairs. There's a whole plethora of different things here in Sydney. And then as we all are afflicted, I looked online and I saw this advertisement, and I thought, I overlooked it a few times. I just thought, he just didn't take very good photos of the boat, And then there was one photo of the lodging of hanging knees in the doghouse that just caught my attention, and it was just that shot that I thought, at least let's just go and have a look, So my partner and I went and had a look, and we rowed to the boat, and I saw the shear.
Was this on Pittwater at Scotland Island?
It was actually, it was actually at that time in Newport, near just near the between Prince Alfred Yacht Club and the Rail Marine.
Yeah.
And I was doing a bit of subcontracting for Mac Marine at that time, and so Wild Wave was just a few boats over. I never kind of saw it through the other vessels, but at that point it was owned by a French bloke, and funnily enough, we knew all the same people in France, in Douarnenez and Brest, all the same sort of shipwrights. He came from that sort of ilk over there. So that was comforting to sort of know that we knew the same people, kind of thing, as these things can invariably go south very quickly. Trying to ascertain various levels of accuracy and truth before taking the plunge into something. So we decided, why not, let's just pull the boat out of the water and just have a look. And I thought, that's going to be the make or break. And I absolutely expected a dog to come out, very antiquated, old, sort of hood ends lifted, and
Did you know that she was a Jock Muir and she was Hugh and Pine at this stage?
I did, but saying that, I've seen every level of vessel of pedigree, fail, and due to a number of ideas that people have in the duration of looking after boats, from sheathing it to doing God knows what. Anyway, so she came out of the water, and as soon as she was lifted, we found out that the boat had only gone back in the water after a haul out a week prior to us coming to have a look at it. And that was comforting to know. But also you think, well, what are they hidden? So the boat came out of the water, and it was remarkable. I was happy to see the hands of a French shipwright having done due care and looked after her. And I think there were like three butt blocks in the entire boat, 3 or 4 butt blocks in the entire boat. So we've got like full lengths of hewn. I think there has been a couple of planks replaced here or there, maybe the garboards at some stage. It's a bit uncertain at that time. But when she came out, I don't know if you can see the photos on Instagram, I've got a lot more. Absolutely, that just, hands down, I just looked at that and I thought, just for the timber alone, and saying that, there was a lot of sort of neglect. You could see that he was, the owner was tired and he wanted to go back to France, and had just let a lot of jobs go, which were becoming pretty critical not on deck, but on the bulwarks, capping rail, doghouse, whatnot. So, saying that, I decided to get. I asked for a survey from Gavin Clark. I don't know if you know Gavin Clark. I absolutely recommend him. I'm going to give him a plug here.
We need to
absolutely
plug people
fantastic, friendly guy. Really did such a. I just wanted to have a second set of eyes on her, and I went through the boat. He went through the boat. We came together with what we'd found, and it pretty much just corresponded and rang true. So that was great, and that wasn't just an insurance survey, even though he did that for us for insuring the vessel, but really structural and really went through it with a fine-tooth comb as much as I did, and then we sort of got together and just oohed and ahed over the thing. And funnily enough, we took maybe a month after that to really think about it and contemplate. It wasn't until my partner, I actually said no in the end, not out of the love of the boat, but just purely out of really do we want to go that way, and she said no, let's go for it, and so we decided to take the plunge and do that.
Wow.
So,
and do you think obviously I understand what attracted you to her on a sort of practical level, and that she was fundamentally good condition and she's got a good history and all that sort of thing, but is there something about it that you feel particularly, you started the conversation by saying she's top of your list now of all those boats. Is there a particular thing that attracted you to this boat or this style of boat, or is it just the provenance, or is there some connection that you could put your finger on?
Whilst I really, celebrate and love her pedigree and her history, that's her story. That's the boat's story. That's the boat's evolution, in her birth, and she's had a number of owners, and I can have a chat about that, because I've really could take my hat off to a couple of them. I think what really attracts me is the aesthetic, just the artistic flow, just the attention to detail. I personally love gaff-rigged vessels or luggers, or dandy rig. So to get a big Marconi or a big Bermudan, cutter is, it's like, oh, I'm not too sure about that. There's always a bit of flappy stuff happening up the top, no matter what's going on. But I like low ratio rigs. I really like, a topsail. I like, jib, high cut jib and staysail and all that sort of stuff. So Wild Wave was really a different direction, but it just seemed to all be in sync. Even though she's got an aluminium mast, it's a huge rig. Actually, I think it's probably a little bit oversized for the vessel, but it's a powerful rig on her. And why change it? It's got a bit of modern and a bit of the old, and to just whack in a timber stick, which for the aesthetic purposes is going to be just as functional as the aluminium.
You're talking to the owner of a 1950s boat with an aluminium mast, so
exactly.
We're on the same team here.
If it was a gaff rigged, I would go completely traditional. Absolutely.
So what was the original rig?
Holly blocks and everything.
Sorry, what was the original rig?
So I think I might even have a picture of her here. I've got the sail. I don't know if you can see there. There's the
original. Well, I'll get you. I have got that picture. Yeah, I'll get you to send me that, but I'll put that
original rig, exactly the same. The boom is the same boom from 1952. And there's a whole story about that. The former owner of Wild Wave, I would say, was the real custodian and did that boat a lot of service. He completely restored her over a few years. Basically went inside with a chainsaw, cut the interior out, and rebuilt her. And he did a beautiful paged document. Like there's a little
you sent that to me. Yeah,
here, absolutely wonderful. And the love that he has for that vessel, and to this day, he's happily assisting me, getting her back to how she should be. And from sadly the neglect in the interim between his ownership, his custodianship, and ours, we're just, all that work is just getting her back to that state again. And his knowledge has been paramount in that endeavor.
One of the things that, talking about the history of it, this is a bit of a sort of strange question, but there's not many boats that have, in inverted commas, won a Sydney-Hobart and then had it taken away. The only one that I can think of that springs to mind is Wild Oats 11, which won and had it taken away. It's really hard to find out what she was penalised for when she won in 1953. Do you know?
I really don't know the ins and outs of the story, and whenever I maybe have raised it, it's still very alive today.
That's interesting.
Online.
That's really interesting.
It's still a hot topic, and you can either you get support or you get closed down. There's the parties for it again all these years later.
I don't know whether
I was even born.
Whether it was a racing rule or a handicap infringement,
I think there was a collision with the starter boat. But it
really?
was maybe that it was a compression, so there was no way for an ulterior.
No way to get out.
It was like a ding ding ding, domino effect. But that's kind of loosely what I know. But I'd have to plead ignorance as to what happened there, and people really still lament that. And the brothers who, as the story goes, the brothers who
the Keats brothers, that is
the Keats brothers. Jock Muir was skippering the vessel during that race, and they unfortunately never spoke for the rest of their lives. So there was I think there was a decision made on board that maybe was overruled, from what I could ascertain from knowing how these sorts of things could, these sort of, how we say conflicts would be, perpetrated.
So it seems they sailed all the way to Hobart, thought they won. Everybody thought they'd won.
They won
then
crossing the
somebody
line.
said, no, sorry, you haven't.
It wasn't until a while later that that there was that notification. So they won, crossed the line, and the gun went off, and everybody was, happy that they won the Sydney to Hobart. So as far as I'm concerned, they can all get stuffed. I think she won the boat. She won the race. I mean,
absolutely. But I mean,
who cares? And I think that's actually, I really like that. It's almost like she sort of snubbed the authority, and just it's almost like Matisse,
Yeah. Just keep on sailing.
I'm just going to keep on sailing, and it doesn't really mean much.
I love it. I like that. It sort of makes her a little bit rebellious, doesn't it?
That's my romantic notion.
Yeah, no, I like it. I cherish that bit of history. You try and cover it up.
I mean, we've got the original plaques on the boat, which is really nice. And so you've got that, just in the doghouse, just right next to the electrical console. And Matt Westrip, the former owner who did the restoration, he's kindly gifted a lot of things that he kept from the boat, and has brought them back purely because he saw that we're really trying to do the right thing by her. Beautiful ship's bell with Wild Wave on it, which is really nice.
Beautiful. And so after that early racing history, or the offshore racing history, I guess, which is sort of mid-50s, late 50s, was she always a Sydney boat? Did she stay in Sydney and keep doing that, or what did she do after that? There's
a chronology here. I've got like a list of her evolution of where she went, but she did spend a lot. She did come back up to Sydney. She was, I think, owned by some conglomerate that went into a race, and then she was dismasted, and then they had to sail back.
Right. So
that was the old stick that got destroyed.
Right.
She was neglected and left. She was actually she was moored for many, many years by, I forget his name, but he did actually come out after about 2 weeks after we took over the boat. That's right. We were motoring. It was the first day that we actually motored out from Newport, and we turned around and came back because this huge front came in, and it looked a lot worse than it actually was. But he actually took some beautiful photos of the boat with this big rolling front low coming in over us, and that was only a week after I think we owned the boat. He owned the boat for many, many years. His kids spent a lot of time on her. She was moored over at Scotland Island. So now that we're back there, a lot of people are happy to see
recognizing it.
that the boat is back there. I had one of the old fellas who operate the barges between Church Point and Scotland Island. He came by. I've seen him every now and again. He just goes by and he looks at the boat, and then eventually one day he maybe built up the courage. He came alongside and he said, "You know what, mate? When I was 12, I had my first kiss on that boat with Peggy such and such, or whoever it was."
At least it was just a kiss, yeah?
It was just a kiss. He said, "I fell in love on that boat."
That's lovely. That's really nice.
What a story.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And so in a sense, sort of Pittwater's her spiritual home, I guess, then.
Yeah, I think both. I would really love to sail down to Tasmania in January, and quietly sneak in the dead of the night right in front of the Muir boatyard and drop the pick. Who knows? Maybe everybody will just sort of oh yeah, there's wild mate. But yeah, no, there's I've sort of gotten to know a few people in the I think it's the Facebook page Boats of Battery Point.
Yep.
That sort of area. They're great. I mean, they're just right into their history and all the vessels, and they're really good. So it'd be great.
Have you come across Nick Mays? Have you come across a lady called Nick Mays? Yeah, Nick's very into that sort of thing. Yeah,
that's right. I think she follows the Instagram page and whatnot. But that would be great. I'd love to go around the bottom end of Tasmania and then back to South Australia.
Port Davey, and we came down the other way the year before last now. And it's truly one of the most special places in the world.
It's a bucket list trip, that one.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
And although it has this reputation of being in the Roaring 40s, and it's this sort of, the distances are short enough and the weather forecasting is good enough now that you don't have to make it that hard. Okay, you have to be prepared for some bad weather, but you don't have to be risking your life to do it. It's
no. And if something does happen, we're in Australia. Thankfully, not like some other places I know.
Just give us just give us a little bit of not too much detail, but a little bit of an outline of the work that you've had to do, because I've been watching your Instagram account and you've been pretty hard at it.
Yeah, hard at it, and also holding down a full-time job, doing repairs on people's boats. Right. So it's been a hard graft, and I'm kind of hitting the wall at the moment. But what have we been doing? Oh my gosh, what haven't we been doing?
So what were the major
things was the doghouse was blowing out, and there was because it's all the main framing is all Oregon and Huon or whatever it is. I actually don't know, but the ply exterior was all just starting to go. It was all delaminating and big pieces coming off, and there was a decision, should I rip that all off and tongue and groove and just put just plank it and just traditional, and then maybe it can be varnished and look all very nice. But that's a really big job. Then all the windows have to be reset and accurate, and it was just too much, a bigger job for the first job. So just repair, just graving pieces and scarfing in new panels. And it came up okay. And I think she will last, with maintenance and looking after it, I think she'll probably last a good 4 years, 5 years. And then, at a later date, that definitely will happen on a nice winter and
also I think that sort of, living with a boat, because you're going to be living with this, it'll inform whatever you do in 4 or 5 years time far better than just going, I'll make up this coach trip. You'll get to know what you want out of it and what it's meant to be.
Well, you create a timeline. It's just like I advise anybody that's going to take on the endeavor to own a classic boat, is that you log everything. You stagger the jobs, and what are less priorities, what are priorities, what's in your capacity to do, and if something's a little bit it has a little bit more gravitas to attend to, then you have time to research and then maybe tackle it yourself with friends. So you really stagger jobs as they go, as opposed to just being overwhelmed. This whole thing I get from people all the time since forever is, you own a wooden boat, you're going to work on it forever. Well, if they're maintained, then I would say no to that.
Yeah.
If they're not,
the other thing is,
it's a hard graft to get it up to a certain point.
Yeah. Don't ever expect don't ever have this thing called a finish date, because there's no such thing. You just, you have a date where you actually feel on top of it and you maintain
buy
it.
Buy a Beneteau if you want a finish date, but
but
that's just sort of,
you might as well. No, let's not go there. That's all right.
Tupperware container. Anyway, exactly. But that, with the jobs, I think you just have to, to bring the boat back to that baseline. At first glance, you think, just paint this and do that. Got to put the capping rail, and the doghouse is a bit blown, and this and this. To get it back to that baseline where everything is in order, that's a hard slog. So, any kind of my recommendation to anyone who is, looking to take something like that on, just realize that just getting to that baseline of the boat being presentable and functional and safe is a lot of work. After that, it's just maintenance list. You know what you need to do. You can keep on top of stuff. By all means, I don't like to be one of those people who own a boat and she just sits there and does nothing month after month after month after month after month after year, which is just clogging up all our waterways and moorings. And you just wonder, that I think some point this is my view on Sydney, there needs to be a massive audit on the waterways and boats that are just sitting there. That if their things aren't being used, then they should piss off, basically.
Tax them, or something
So,
like that.
yeah, just
I've
get
got
rid of
this theory that there should be I'm trying to advocate it, where you shouldn't think about how much your boat costs you each year. You should think about how much your boat costs you per mile each year. So it's the cost per mile sailed that's really the important figure, because if you're not using your boat, if you take it out twice a year, your cost per mile is really high. If you're using it every weekend, then
and we've been I would say since we've taken over the boat, I would say a good 85% on weekends, and even during the week where
you're working on it as well, so you're on board all the time.
You're working on it.
Yeah, brilliant.
It does get a bit tiring sometimes. We think maybe not for us. She's a bit big.
No, and I mean, you wouldn't be the first person who just burned out, because it's just a bigger task than it says. I mean, I've sort of interviewed other people before, and they said, what you think it's going to take you in terms of time, double it, maybe treble it. And that's sort of really how you should be approaching it. Work it out and then double it. And I do think, one of the functions of a website like this is, one of the functions.
Sorry, I'm just going to wet the whistle.
No, you might have noticed I was doing that already. One of our functions is almost in a sense like a support group, not in any sort of cynical way, but to let people know that there are other people out there struggling with the enormity of it, and and there are people who've got through that and are incredibly rewarded because of it. You know, that the dark times of doing these things, and, you know, we've all spent way too much money and, you know, dealt with partners and thought, you know, things that, you know, that we probably shouldn't have done. But at the end, if you stay focused and stay committed, often the rewards are enormous, you know. And I think that's one of the functions of this website, to say that.
I mean, it's just this affliction. I mean, you go through all of this agony, and then you have that perfect anchorage and the perfect day, and then everything kind of just sort of melts away, doesn't
it? we woke up, we came up on for Easter, and we took the boat round to Smith's Creek, and, you know, which isn't, and it's Easter, and there's
we went there on Easter as well.
Oh, right.
Were you there?
Yeah, we were. So we went down to the end, and there were like 1,000 boats, and most of them were huge, great motorboats. And we came back halfway up, and we just dropped an anchor just beside the bank on the north side, and took a stern line ashore. So the stern of the boat was literally about 3 or 4 meters.
I think I saw you. I was looking to go a little bit further and see if there was any room.
Right.
We stayed on the bay just on the right.
Okay.
And we almost got taken out by
Bay,
a houseboat.
Yeah.
A houseboat.
You wake up in the morning and the fog had come in, and even at night we could see one other anchor light. And in the morning the fog came in, and, you know, the rocks were dripping and the gum trees were hanging over the boat. And I'm thinking, you know, this is sort of what it's about, being here and, you know, just drinking a cup of coffee.
It is a beautiful, it's a beautiful area, that's for sure. Really lovely.
So tell us a little bit, because I think, you know, from what I've heard, your plans for what you're hoping to do with the boat are actually quite interesting, and they're not just, we're just going to enjoy it, or we're just going to sail off over the horizon. I mean, you've got some ideas about sort of how it might be, you know, something that's a bit more shared than that. Is that right?
We'd love to charter the boat. So everything was getting to the point where, you know, maybe the boat, if she could at least pay for herself and a little bit more, that would be, you know, what a blessing that would be, as well as being able to share that with the wider community and help people to learn to sail and to sail a wonderful boat and get to know her. And, you know, my selfish view on that is I want to get a little bit off the tools. I'm tired to be working on the tools, and I think that's a possibility, you know, and I think that's sort of a certain bar that we'd like to get to, that she does really pay for herself and do that. You know, yes, there's a financial element. There's so many different elements in it. That's what we've been kind of working towards. There is the other idea that we just move on and we just let her go to another custodian, or we really live that life. That, you know, I think anybody that has a boat, you're always assessing, you know, that ground, and you have to sometimes, you know, reason has to come into play over your attachment, and, you know.
Would you ever consider living aboard for a while?
At the moment, I mean, I could live aboard quite easily. My partner, as much as she loves the boat, she's working full time. She's got a lot of responsibilities. She works a lot, and I think that for now is not really necessary. I think that's we don't really need to do that at the moment.
Yeah, no.
She's quite happy up there on her mooring.
Yeah, absolutely.
If she was up there, you know, week after week after week of nothing going on, then, you know, you just can't do that. You know, that's you've got to be onto it. Yeah.
So maybe the next big adventure would be perhaps a trip down to Hobart would be the next.
Yeah, I would love that. I would really love that. That would be that's sort of the next goal. Definitely.
Maybe we could join you and do it in company in
I would love to. Absolutely love to. I'm sure there's get a whole flotilla.
The islands of Bass Strait. That's the sort of last undiscovered frontier, really, for cruising yachtsmen. I think, you know.
Let's go right around. Yeah, get on the lee side and just drop the pick. If it blows on that one, go around the other side.
Exactly.
Exactly.
No, that could be really fun. Well, Jeremiah, I think that's a fantastic conversation. I think you're a bit of an inspiration for people who like, there's enough old boats out there that need saving. I mean, I totally understand that Wild Wave's a bit more special than a lot of those other boats, and I think you've done a brilliant job getting this far. So, yeah.
Every boat, no matter how you look at, some of these, even these like 22-foot motor launches, and, all spotted gum, and they're built in the 30s and the 40s. I mean, a lot of attention to detail and love went into these things,
Yeah,
just as much as any other boat,
Somebody once said it would be hard to find a wooden boat you couldn't fall in love with if you had to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's an affliction, that's for sure. Sometimes I wish I didn't have the disease, but there you have it.